Okay. Hello. Okay, welcome. So today we're going to be doing some more. We're going to be jumping back to a game that I didn't complete all the way before, and we're going to be continuing with Sounds of Her Love. So let's go ahead and pull that up here. Let me double check to make sure that yes, you can hear me and it was recording. I'm good. Oh, one sec. Almost had it. Excellent. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's just load it in here and continue. And so a quick recap of where we were last time. We had just taken Carrie out on a date into the city, and we'd gone to the library and looked at a music store. And afterwards, Carrie had invited us to her house to have some dinner with the family. And so we kind of got to meet Carrie's father for a little bit, but then he got pulled away by a phone call and started arguing with her mother over the phone. And so Carrie has now brought us to a different location in the house. And it looks like it's kind of building up to have some kind of conversation. So maybe she's going to tell us what's going on, or tell us a little bit about her past or something like that. And that's kind of where it left off last time. Carrie, a person I have grown to enjoy the company of, is leading me higher towards the upper floor of her house. Our relationship has blossomed unexpectedly, flowering a friendship both of us cherish with nothing but pure passion. I can only assume she's leading me to her bedroom, an action which would be typically suitable for this situation if Give me a second, I just need to warm up my voice. An action which would be typically suitable for this situation is for me to get flustered, overcomplicating things by assuming the most raunchy and far-off situation. She wants to talk, though. That I can tell from what we were subject to downstairs. It's obvious that she wants to address it. Carrie leads from in front, forcing me to divert my head in an act of politeness as to not look up her skirt. She can't see me anyway, so she wouldn't know if I did. Now is not the time for that, though. Her voice is firm, as if she has found something inside of her that is pushing her forward, giving her the courage to speak. Inside, though, she must be nervous. The entire situation between her and her mother and father wouldn't be something that she could easily talk about. I trace Carrie's footsteps with my own as we walk down the hall towards her room. Her body is rigid, filled with a composure of sorts. I can't imagine how long she must have waited for this moment, to be able to tell someone outside of her family circle what her life has been like. An unsettled relationship between her parents, her absence from school, and experiencing pure loneliness. All of that must have accumulated into an emotion of anger and misery, or one of sadness. In a way, I'm glad I found her, though I can't be the one to solve her problems. I do want to help her. We walk into a room painted in beige. Carrie goes forward and starts to undo her braids, slowly letting her silky hair fall down straight. A way I've never seen it, something different. I prefer her with the braids, but maybe that's just because it's how I'm used to seeing her. She still looks beautiful either way. Carrie rests her glasses on her nightstand, then takes a seat on her bed. The pink love heart embellished bedding gives off a girlish vibe. I still feel as if they suit her, though. She herself holds a downcast expression, the smooth skin of her hands clutching her knees tightly. It'd be a cute pose if she wasn't plagued by the sorrows of her past, no matter how recent they may be. Although saying that it, although saying that a thin gap between her thighs is visible, leaving her underwear within view. I tried to avoid it earlier, but as Carrie starts talking, it would be rude of me to look away from her. Well, I guess a little fan service for the game, I guess. But anyway, let's continue. For what? This seems out of place for me to ask. Carrie must have a lot on her mind that she must want to say, though I am confused by her gratitude. She thanks me a lot, too often maybe, but this time there's surely more of an important meaning behind it. Isn't that what a friend should do? Carrie goes on, letting her emotions flow out from within. No, but surely you can see that you've improved. I mean, you can talk to me fairly easily now. Carrie still acts as if she hasn't improved. I wouldn't know what she's feeling on the inside, so I can't be the one to judge. Maybe it's just me she's gotten better with, which would be a reasonable assumption. I'm the only person that she converses with that isn't within her family. A group of people which is probably limited to just her father. It must have been painful. I want to ask her why didn't she speak up for herself? Though asking it would be rather spiteful. A lonely girl trying to study for her exams, it would have been quite a stressful time. Knowing the education system, they wouldn't have done much for her. Or didn't. I don't know if she's spoken to any of the teachers. So, that was the lie? Accepting her apology would be wrong. She had a pretty good reason to do so. So it wasn't easy for Carrie to open up to me. It almost seems as if I forced her to, with how quick it's all gone. From a different perspective, I wouldn't be standing here now if she didn't want to get along. No one would outright refuse any interaction. It was just hard for her, for an understandable reason. And let me turn down the volume a little bit. It's getting a little loud. That's probably good. It makes me feel happy that she found what she's been looking for. Carrie stands from her bed, finishing by giving me her warm-hearted regards. It's a thing which she's always done during the time we've known each other. She's usually quite polite. This, however, is something much more than that. Something special, both to her and to me. Thank you. I'm glad I could be there for you. You're an important friend to me, too. I told you before, didn't I? Carrie nods and smiles, wiping the melancholic expression clean from her face. It's a wonderful sight. To know that our friendship means this much to her, it really makes me happy. The pair of us stand together in the center of Carrie's bedroom, basking in the presence of each other. Around us is silence, barring the light sounds of traffic from outside. It's a lovely atmosphere, something which makes me feel warm inside. I don't know what her father is doing, but he must have realized that we've gone. Lucky enough we're not in my house, or my father would be here in the moment that we left his sight. I guess I did. Oh, look at that cheeky smile. Out of nowhere, Carrie throws me a jab as she stands before me with a complacent grin. She is right, though. My room is a tip. If I ever did have the courage to bring Carrie anywhere near my family, particularly my father, then cleaning my room would be somewhere in the list of priorities. Well, what can I say? I guess you should take pride in your tidiness. Carrie giggles at my statement, an act of familiarity which I'm glad we could achieve. Just moments ago, Carrie was recalling thoughts from a time filled with a wealth of dictionary words. Sadness, depression, loneliness, those sorts of words come to mind. Hopefully we can change the experience of the past, so in the future she doesn't have to look back on those memories. If you didn't have that bookshelf, I'd dread to see what your room would look like. There is quite a lot of books there, though. Surely she hasn't read them all. Actually, I take that back. She probably has. That vacant smile as she stares towards the bookshelf kind of proves it. In all fairness, she's not the only one with a lot of books in her room. I couldn't even count the number in mine. All I do is gather dust in my room, as my room continues to be treated like a storeroom, cluttering the house with all its publications. Was there ever a time where he actually wrote a book? Putting that thought to the side of my mind, I glance at the alarm clock beside Carrie's bed. It feels as if it's getting late. Huh, it's only 2 o'clock? It seems as if we both had issues with faulty clocks lately. Nonetheless, if it wasn't for that, I doubt I would have met her in the first place. Realizing that I am in fact wearing a watch, I raise it up to check the actual time. Before saying it to myself, Carrie is quick to the point. Yeah, I should probably head back soon. Can't even imagine what my sister might be up to. Carrie smiles, though that wonderful sight quickly turns back into a frown. It's okay, Carrie. You don't have to apologize. In reality, it was her father's duty to apologize, even though I wouldn't really blame him for his actions. It seems as if it's Carrie's mother. Shall we head downstairs then? Carrie and I make our way out of her room and down the stairs, leaving behind what was both a special, yet somehow depressing moment for both of us. Carrie had to recall the times that she wanted to forget, but at the same time, it made us closer. I now realize that she didn't even speak much about her family issues. I guess I can't blame her for it, but it was the reason that the two of us left the dining table. All I have to do now is just wait until she's ready to speak about such things. Being able to help her is something that I want to do. We walked down the hall towards the doorway, Carrie getting ready to see me off. I don't know where her father is, but I'll just have to speak to him another time. Thank you for tonight, Carrie. Oh, don't worry about that, Carrie. It's alright. Carrie smiles warmly, holding the handle of the door in her hand. I'm sure neither of us is ready to go yet, but I have to get back home nonetheless. She blushes, leaving me to give her a smile in response. I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing those rosy cheeks. Alright, Carrie, I'll see you then. Shutting the door behind me, Carrie and I are now separated. Myself feeling happy, despite the cold of the evening. Her, well, I guess I'm not really sure how she's feeling. In all honesty, I do hope that she's feeling better. Talking with her really made me feel closer to her. Maybe even something more. I take my steps out of the garden, a pretty one at that, and each flower is still vibrant in the evening sunlight. It's quite a beautiful sight. It is Carrie's after all. The chirping of birds, the typical sounds in the morning, wake me up once again as I slowly but steadily prop myself upright and stretch my arms out. The room is still dark, giving a contrast to my attitude this morning. Strange to think that the first thing on my mind after waking up is Carrie. Although, given the situation the other night, I can't really help it. Sure my mind is amiss after Saturday. What with the roller coaster events which have occurred, focusing on the positive seems to be the best thing to do at the moment. Carrie and I have gotten a lot closer because of it, despite our discussions involving nothing but her ruminating over her painful history. But I've made up my mind. I want to help her, so I look forward to being able to see her today. It's Monday after all. I rise from my bed, deciding now is the right time to get dressed and ready for school. Downstairs, I can hear my father boasting about his business to my mother. It reminds me of my situation, how different me and Carrie really are. Time passes quickly, flowing like a river, guiding me throughout my day. I finish up my business, which involves nothing but a quick shower, brushing my teeth, and getting ready for another day at school. Heading downstairs is the next thing on my list. Walking into the dining room, I am presented with the usual sight of my family enjoying breakfast. Even my sister has managed to make it down here before me, which is quite a rare sight. I take my place next to them in order to have breakfast. Listen, girl, if you're gonna have toast, it's gotta be wholemeal. I prefer white bread, though. Seems as if my father's arguing with my sister over what bread they like the best. I myself prefer brown bread, but joining the argument would be the most idiotic thing I could do. Times like these usually go unnoticed. The fact that I can spend time with my family. To think that Carrie only has her father is an upsetting thought. Even more so since he's probably in work when she finishes school, so she must get quite lonely. Boy, I asked you a question. I turn to see my father's face inches away from mine, a sight which startles me. What? Thinking about Carrie must have caused me to shut off the outside world. Usually I'm not involved in these sorts of discussions, so it's fair for him to bring me into them. I said, what is better on toast, jam or honey, boy? I don't know, jam? In all honesty, I prefer butter, but I mean, again, giving my own opinion would just upset the situation further. Ha! See, even your brother agrees. Don't take the opinion of someone who spaces out. I thought I was bad in the mornings. The two of them resumed their argument, with me and my mother trying to ignore the presence of the two at the table. Breakfast day is the same as any other. I wonder if Carrie's having hers right now. I take a quick glance at the clock, an action which sets my mind into motion once again. I'll be late for school at this rate. Is the clock still broken? If it was, then I'd definitely be too early. Not anymore. I fixed it. You have a watch anyway, so why does it matter? Oh, right. Well, I'm off then. Goodbye, son. Alright, son. Hopefully you bring back a girl this time. Despite my father's continuous comments about girls, it is what I'm focused on today. I deliberately decide to leave earlier than usual, in an attempt to beat Carrie to our usual meeting spot. I step outside, bidding farewell to my family, with nothing more than a brisk wave. I look forward to seeing Carrie, a girl I've become familiar with. The rosiness of her cheeks, the silkiness of her braids, and that cute edge to her embarrassed smile. It's not something that I would find when moving to schools. It's not something I thought I would find when moving schools. The street is quiet. It usually is around this time, and I did leave before the rush hour. Recently I found myself trying to get to school a lot earlier than before. Maybe there's a reason for that. That reason, though, isn't here when I reach the end of the street. This is the place where I first met Carrie, and the place we agreed on meeting each other from now on. Carrie, though, isn't here. Granted, I did leave earlier just so I could be here before her. Well, if I wait around a bit, I should be greeted to the cute side of her being shocked to see me. Leaning back against the wall, I rub my brow as I take the time to think about the situation between us. On Saturday, I was privy to her life behind the closed doors. But having to be involved in a dispute between parents, what with the additional sense of loneliness. Thinking about it really makes me sad, that she's gone through so much. Bullying, a divorce, and seclusion, all of that, and then there's me. I take a look at my watch, its reflection in the sunlight almost blinding me as I squint to make out the numbers. Time has gone by fast, with the dial telling me that it's been about a quarter of an hour since we were supposed to have met each other. Thoughts fly through my head as I ponder over why she could be late, but if I wait any longer then I won't be able to make it to school on time. If she were to turn up after I'd left, well, I guess it would hurt me, but leaving Carrie behind is something I don't want to do. But I can't really afford to be late either. Carrie's just probably ill, and that's the most likely scenario. I decide to carry on forward, taking myself further down on a series of streets towards school. A state close to silence soon becomes infused with the sounds of students bustling through the school gates to begin their day, just like me. Unlike them, I have someone in particular in mind today. These people weren't there for Carrie when she needed it. All they did was ignore her and cast her away. It's sad that people can judge you based on how they see you, rather than what's inside. Carrie herself, wherever she may be, has had a hard time. I keep telling myself over and over, repeating it as if it's the times tables I learnt back in elementary school. Carrie must be ill. Could there really be any other reason for her absence? Nevertheless, she seems like the type of person they would give me a call to tell me she would not be in. She hasn't done that, which is another cause for worry. I push forward into the school grounds. It's weird to think that this is only the 7th time I've come to school alone. The rest of the time I was always with her. Arriving in class just short of the bell, I sit down at my desk as usual. The best thing I can do right now is go about my day as I normally would, but I don't think I'll be able to dissipate the thoughts of Carrie. Hey Lobster, do you know what lesson we have first thing? A classmate stands before my desk. I'm pretty sure this is the guy from before who is really keen on the sandwiches they sell here. I think it's biology. Alright, thanks, man. He leaves my desk just as quick as he came, giving me giving me with a sense of sickness now that I realize I'll have to put up with these lessons for a while. I'm not particularly fond of my biology teacher either, but I have more important things to focus on right now. All I can do now is just try to get through all of this. Lunchtime arrives, the bell doing more than signaling that. It shows that I've got nobody to eat with. I doubt Carrie has or will show up today. Rising from my seat, pain shoots through my back as I straighten it. I've been slumping in my chair all morning, and luckily enough for me, I never got asked any questions by my biology teacher. As I approach the door to the classroom, part of me hopes to find Carrie there waiting for me. The entire set topped off with a cute blush, her silky golden braids lying loosely over her shoulders, and more importantly, her adorable smile. Even though I've only been gone just over a day without seeing her, it's still an issue. Despite all this, there's no sign of Carrie as I leave the classroom to make a beeline to the cafeteria. Maybe that's 100% Welsh beef can give me the energy to make it through the rest of the day. Taking my place in line at the cafeteria, one which is surprisingly short, I idle around waiting for my turn to order. Coming here still gives me thoughts of Carrie. It's where we really got to know each other. Not necessarily where everything started, though. It's because I decided to speak to her on a whim that we've managed to get this far. That was only a week ago. Thinking about it makes me happy at what we've achieved over the past 7 days, yet it eventually trails back to the thoughts of Carrie's issues. Soon enough, the line to the cold food section shortens, again and again as we inch forward. One after the other, people grab their food and leave to eat, something I would be doing with Carrie if she was here. I decided to grab a sandwich, quickly enough to get the last beef one, leaving me to find a place to sit in the cafeteria. The real problem is that I have nobody to eat with, kind of like how Carrie was. I wonder if she would have approached me if our situations were reversed. With her personality, I couldn't really expect much. Even though she's a kind person, she wouldn't have had the audacity to approach someone she'd only met that morning. I decided the best thing to do is to just go back to class. I can probably find someone to talk to there. The corridor is empty as I walk back towards the classroom to eat lunch. Most people now would either be in their class or in the cafeteria, so it's rare to see any students walking about at this time. Making my way past one of the classrooms, I notice the door open behind me as someone calls out. "Hey, wait, you're Lobster, right?" I stop in my tracks and turn around to find one of our year's form teachers calling out to me. I think he's in charge of Carrie's class. Yes, I am, sir. Sorry to stop you. I was wondering if you would know the reason as to why Caradwyn is absent today. We haven't received a call from her parents, so I thought you might know where she is. You have been hanging around with her lately, that is. No, I don't. I'm sorry, sir. Has this guy been watching me and Carrie? I guess it's kind of his job as a teacher to track pupils' progress. It is quite noticeable that one of the most introverted students suddenly made a friend. Though it still aggravates me that he's looking into our business. Okay, no worries. We'll give her parents a call later, if we don't receive any word from them. I'm not sure if this guy knows about the relationship between Carrie's parents. He heads back into his classroom, leaving me by myself in the corridor. The thought of giving Carrie a call myself crosses my mind as I make my way back to my classroom. Cool air, the sounds of cars, and the presence of the local populace going about their daily lives surrounds me. Walking home from school has always been like this. Just time to think whilst I rush to get back so I can go about my own life. It makes me wonder whether things will be different if Carrie had come to school today. We did agree to walk to school together, but neither of us said anything about walking home together. I guess I'm not sure why we haven't. Being able to support Carrie is something I want to do. After what her teachers had told me, I really don't think she's ill. Surely your father would have informed the school. They're never too keen on pupils missing lessons, and I have had the experience of being berated for it before. Putting my hand in my pocket, my fingers naturally rest around my phone as I realize I've had it with me. I did decide on giving Carrie a call, though I'd rather wait till I got home. Something inside me knows that things we'll discuss won't be the same as trivial things we both embraced before. Step by step, I trace back my usual path down my street to and from school, quickly arriving home and making my way indoors. Inside, instead of the usual sounds of my father's boasting and my mother's retorts, I find my sister sitting down and playing on her phone. It's something she would usually do. Why she's doing it downstairs and not in her room, I'm unsure. Oh, you're back. Yes, I am. Did you get let out early or something? No, I'm just a faster walker than you. She always has a way to be cheeky. Where's Mom and Dad? Oh, they went out. They said they'd bring back something for dinner. Alright. I take off my shoes in the hall when I get the idea to talk about Carrie with my sister. She might be able to give me a girl's perspective on it all. At least I hope. Hey sis, is there any reason as to why a girl might not come to school despite not being ill? My sister turns her head and smirks at me, almost to mock me for knowingly asking something which would make me indebted to her. Oh, did a girl you like take the day off? Haha, very funny. Are you going to give me a serious answer? After raising my voice, my sister responds by giving me a solemn expression. I didn't mean to get loud, but right now I have more things on my mind than her jokes. Well, I wouldn't go if I didn't feel like it. That is, if I was depressed. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry for shouting. By getting angry, I've created a sense of awkwardness between us. Doing so resulted in getting an answer from her anyway, one which isn't unreasonable given Carrie's situation. All I can do now is hope that she's willing to answer my call. It's okay. Resuming with whatever it is she was doing, my sister takes hold of her phone, leaving me to part ways with her and to head upstairs. Before me is a room all too common, and as always, all too messy. Looking around, I realize this will be the stage upon which I begin my act to be there for Carrie, a girl who has grown on me so much over the course of just a mere 7 days. The sounds of cars resonate through the open window, causing me to look outside and stare back at the melancholic expression. Is that really what I look at? The sounds of cars resonate through the open window, causing me to look outside and stare back at that melancholic expression. Is that really what I look like? The image is beyond me as I continue to listen to the melodic rhythms of the cars going by. Here I am, hesitating to call someone who means so much to me, someone who's changed me. I was under the assumption that after meeting Carrie, I was able to bring her out of her shell. She told me otherwise, but I find myself thinking about how much she's done for me, how much we've been there for each other, and neither of us even realizing it. The pounding in my heart acts as a timer, urging me on as I clasp the phone in my hands. All I have to do now is press the button. A pang of nervousness causes me to sweat as my breathing sharpens, unsettling my mind as I continue wanting to get this issue resolved. With an unsteady hand, I take the move to press call. Now it's up to her to answer. The phone rings, slightly longer than I would expect to if Carrie really felt like talking. It can only be assumed that she's at home. If her phone was anywhere near her, then she would have answered it by now. The ringing stops abruptly, causing me to feel a sense of relief, which is soon washed away when someone other than Carrie answers the phone. Hello? Hello? Who might this be? On the other end of the line is Carrie's father. I don't know many parents who would answer their child's phone, but at least I can ask him about Carrie. This is Lobster. Ah, that's right. You were over here the other day, weren't you? I'm sorry about what happened. I don't usually get so worked up, but there's a lot of things going on right now. All I can do is apologize for making you witness it all. I can understand. How's Carrie doing? She wasn't in school today. Oops. Can I go back? I said something. I've only met this guy once and he's calling me a good lad. On the other hand, getting on his good side isn't a bad thing in any shape or form. Carrie's in her room at the moment. She hasn't been down in a while. And that's concerning. She locked herself in her room. I think it's because she's upset about the relationships between me and my wife. Well, she won't be my wife for much longer. It's a complicated story. Did Carrie ever mention it to you? Not in any detail. She just told me to forget about her mother after Saturday. I think you deserve to know. It'll help explain what Carrie's feeling. I don't think I'm in a position to be this involved with her family issues. Really, it's hard to think that he'd be willing to tell me. Listening now, though, might make it easier to understand what Carrie is feeling. And if I want to help her, it's something I must know. Currently, we're going through a divorce, but that should be more than apparent. After we moved to Japan, things started getting rocky between us. My wife decided to go on holiday back to Wales, though her real intention was to get back with her ex-husband. I eventually caught wind of it after one of my friends spotted them together. She stayed there, but at the time filed for a divorce. It's a complicated process when you're dealing with two countries. I was told yesterday that she'd also be filing for custody of Carrie. What? Does that mean Carrie would also return to Wales? She's been upset since she doesn't want to leave. I think she has too much here that she would lose if she went back. It's not just me who she'd be away from. The reality is too hard to comprehend. A sheepish girl faced with another challenge in her life. Having to leave behind her father, her friend, in order to go back to live with the mother she has no fondness for. I knew from the beginning that I wouldn't be able to do anything. Being there for Carrie still won't change the outcome, though I won't resist doing so now. Right now she needs someone there for her, even if it'll end up hurting both of us. If you want to speak to Carrie yourself, you're welcome to come over any time. But I'm not sure how receptive she'll be about it. It feels wrong if I don't at least try to get my voice through to her. Even if she turns me away, I just want her to know that I'm here for her. To know that, despite the pain, the people most important to her will give back everything in return. And that we care for her, that I care for her. Do you think I'll be able to come over today? I don't see why that would be a problem. Like I said, I'm not sure how Carrie would react. Her reaction right now isn't really stable. All that matters to me is how she's feeling, which I know is far from good. So I want to reach out to her. Alright, I'll be over shortly. Goodbye. In a rush, I hang up on Mr. Airwood without giving him the chance to respond. Wasting time isn't an option. I need to get there as soon as possible. Heading downstairs, my footsteps resonate through the house, causing my sister to give me a bewildered look. Luckily enough, she doesn't give me an issue and goes back to using her phone. Passing through the hall, the door opens before me, revealing my parents' home from their trip out. revealing my parents home from their trip out. I don't have time to make conversation, so I slip past them at the doorway, both of them giving me the same bewildered look as my sister did in the process. "Where are you off to, son?" "I'm going to a girl's house." Upon hearing that, my father contorts his face in surprise, finally leaving me be with a proud smile as I set off to make my way down the street. All I should focus on is being there for Carrie, a thought which drives me as I race my way to her house. Darkness fills the path towards Carrie's house. Spare the street lamps which guide my course towards it. A long and winding one, in a metaphorical sense, that is. Here, let me save it right here. This week has provided me with countless ups, but I guess it's time to face the downs. Knowing that Carrie is hurting makes me feel bad myself, something which I've told myself over and over. My emotional attachment to her is a big thought. Carrie Street is short, so it's easy enough to find her house. It saves me the time of looking for her in the darkness of the ever-looming light. The adrenaline within me rushes further towards the door of her house. It's not necessary, but I feel that controlling these emotions would be a bad thing, on top of the difficulty to do so. It's Carrie's feelings I want to prioritize right now. Getting here as soon as possible helps me do that. My knuckles face the wood of the door repeatedly as I eagerly wait for an answer. I can see movement from inside, and that of Carrie's father as he soon comes to open the door. "Good evening, Lobster. I won't keep you for long. Carrie's room is upstairs and to the right." Keeping things brief, Mr. Airwood gives me the directions to Carrie's room, despite me already knowing them. I don't know how well it would sit with him if I told him I've already been up there, so I just thank him anyway. "Thank you." Sparing no time, I rush up the stairs as carefully as I can. Wearing socks and trying to race up there would be really regrettable if I were to slip. Though being too cautious also seems like a bad idea as well. The only thing I should be caring about is Carrie. Following the same path I took only days ago, Carrie's bedroom door stands before me, the gateway to a lonely, downcast girl. Knocking on it gently, my heart continues to pound in my chest as I wait for a response. Nothing. Out of instinct, I grasp the doorknob, but despite my best effort, it won't budge. She must have locked it. I kinda expected it, but it doesn't change the fact that she's locked herself away from the outside world, even her own father. Slow movements raise my arm once again as I realize what I've done. For all Carrie's concerned, it could be just her father knocking on the door. Hopefully hearing me as well can show her how concerned we both are. As I tap against the door once more, I make my call out to her. "Carrie, it's me." A response. A small yet welcome one. Her voice is filled with nervousness. Over the time that we've spent together, I've noticed that she found it easier to speak to me each day as each day went on. Now, though, she sounds just as she did when I first met her. "I came to talk to you. I want you to come back to school tomorrow, Carrie." I abruptly managed to stop myself from adding, "I've missed you," even though it's the absolute truth. Spending time without her was different, even though that's all I knew before. "I know you're not feeling good, but knowing you're like this, it makes me sad. I told you we were friends, right? I want to support you." "You don't have to apologize. I just want to be there for you." Only a thin piece of wood separates us both as we stand in silence. A wall between us, between our feelings. I'm not sure what I should do. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow, Carrie, where we normally meet. Good night, Carrie. On a whim, I turn myself away from her. It's a painful thing to do, but actions speak louder than words. Oops, I missed one. Trying to break into her room wouldn't have done either of us any good, but telling her I'll wait no matter what might let her hear my feelings in a different way. I'm not sure if she responded though. She didn't come out after me. It's an odd thing for me to be so familiarized with her house, after only knowing her for a week. But that thought doesn't stick with me on the trip down the stairs. So, how did it go? Her father stands in the hallway, showing that he was waiting for me the entire time. I don't know. We'll just have to see. They are plain and simple words, yet they hurt me so much. Having this uncertainty between us all makes me feel more bitter than anything. It's okay. It's okay. Ketty is usually quite stubborn. Would you be staying for dinner? I know a meal with 37-year-old Welsh guy isn't exactly on everyone's bucket list, but it would be impolite for me to not offer. Thank you, but my parents have brought back something for the family just as I was leaving. I'm sure it'll be quite a ruckus when I get back. It's alright. I hope you enjoy your evening, Lobster. Thank you for speaking with her. It's okay. It's something I wanted to do. I'll be off then. Goodbye. Carrie's father sees me off with a wave as I walk out of the Airwood household. Thinking about it now, his words don't make much sense to me. Describing Carrie as stubborn is definitely a contrast to what I know her as. In fact, I would describe her as pretty compliant. I guess things are different when you're a parent. Maybe it's just how Carrie acts towards me. At least I hope it is. The morning sunlight blinds my eyes on my walk towards school. More importantly, towards my typical rendezvous point with Carrie. As I get closer and closer, I dote upon what Carrie means to me, my relationship with her. It's a strange thing to think about, but as time goes on, things will start to make more sense to me. As the usual corner of the street enters my vision, the shy, braided girl isn't there. It would be wrong to say I didn't expect this, but part of me looked forward to seeing her adorable aura shimmer in the sunlight. Looking at my watch, it's still a bit early. Even if it was late, I would still be waiting for her. Being late to school doesn't really concern me now. Cars pass by me one after another as the neighborhood starts to get into motion. Everyone's on their way to work or to drop their kids off at school. It's the usual sort of thing for a weekday. Having mine be different yesterday really shows me how much I enjoyed the mornings before. Going to school to be able to see her. Every day of my life before I'd been absent of her, but meeting her really showed me how much of a wonderful person she is. I mean, it's a shame it took a while for her to be able to show it to someone. The clock continues to circle around and around my watch, similar to the thoughts in my mind. Constantly moving, but not really getting anywhere. 7:35 soon passes without any sign of Carrie. When agreeing to meet with her, I would have probably embraced the experience of walking down the road around this time to see her waiting for me with a mild smile on her face. When agreeing to meet with her, I would have probably embraced the experience of walking down the road around this time to see her waiting for me with a mild smile on her face. One which I can only assume would quickly turn into a fluster as she would spot me approaching. None of that has happened though. Or will happen. I can't imagine Carrie being that happy to see me. Anxiety grows within me, flowering from one of the most painful places for it to embed its thorns, my heart. It's been 5 minutes now since the usual time we agreed to meet. Not particularly late by any standard. That is, any standard other than Carrie's. Every time we agreed to meet somewhere, despite it only happening on a few occasions, Carrie was always earlier on time, more so the prior. Maybe my words didn't reach her after all. Glancing up from my watch one last time, within my vision I see a figure. Despite the morning sunlight hindering my view, it's clear to me that a girl is walking down the streets towards me. As she approaches, I can make out her hair, neatly braided and swaying in the light autumn breeze. Her attire, all too familiar to me, consists of a tan sweater which embellishes her figure. The harp insignia on her chest is quickly covered by her arm as she adjusts the red ribbon beneath her neck, blushing slightly as she looks towards me. And it's Carrie. The sight brings a smile to my face. It usually would, but this time means a lot more to me than any of the others ever could. I managed to reach out to her. She came. Her expression, however, does not match mine. She still carries a troubled expression as she advances further down the street. If one thing is for sure, there's still a lot of work to do before we can make things right. If that's even the right word. All the issues, all the problems that caused this situation are still here, and Carrie is still upset. Good morning, Carrie. Part of me wants to ask how she's feeling, in spite of knowing the answer. I'm fine, she'll say. That's all it is. Fine. Fine is just a synonym for not good. A quick answer to get people off your case. Carrie knows how concerned I am, but prying into her feelings now would not benefit either of us. Today I want her to feel normal, to experience a day of school like we usually would. Upsetting her by getting into the subject of her parents would just make my efforts all for naught. Instead, I opt to just usher along with me to begin our day of school. I think we should get going. We're going to be late otherwise. I expected to apologize for being late, but it really doesn't matter to me. Carrie and I begin our slow walk to school, despite having the clock working against us. But we're not in any rush. Dust shimmers in the air sporadically throughout the classroom, giving the day a sense of warmth as the autumn sunlight shines through the windows. All too much of a contrast with the bitter cold of the morning, leaving me with a feeling of unease as the issues with Carrie still linger around my mind. Having left her not too long ago to get to class, we separated on a sour note, neither of us really saying anything, but our feelings ever so similar. Ones of sadness, sorrow, and general awkwardness. Getting her to come to school was one thing, but for her to open up to me again will be a completely different challenge. If I am going to make this day work, one way or another I'll have to force her to walk with me, or I'll have to force her to talk with me, no matter how inconsiderate that sounds. Moving my body backwards, I stretch to alleviate the pain in my shoulders. Today is going to be long, but I've gotten through lessons before just thinking about Carrie. Thing is, there's a lot more to think about now, including my feelings. The chimes of the school bell jolt me up from the slumped position of my chair. It's lunchtime, so getting outside as soon as possible is a priority. I want to meet Carrie outside of her class for once. Springing up, I grab my bag and swiftly push my items into a disordered manner. These are things I have no time to be concerned about. I managed to be one of the first people out of the class, but it's expected that those who sit near the front will always have the upper hand. Carrie's class isn't much of a distance away. It seems like their class is still inside. Everyone in our year group is in the same corridor, so it's unsurprising to find myself joining the usual crowds who wait outside the other classes for their friends to come out. One by one, people flock out of the classroom. The entire event is quite a scene, as it's already been about 5 minutes since the lunch bell rang. Just how important was their lesson? Let me save it here. Okay, so I've been recording almost an hour, so let's go ahead and finish off this day, and then I'll probably end my recording for this one right here. In time, the sight of Carrie greets my eyes once again. She still holds the same expressionless appearance she had since the morning. It hurts to see. Hey Carrie, shall we go have lunch together? As soon as I open my mouth, Carrie seems to go into a state of shock. Her words sound untruthful, as if she forced out the first excuse that she could think of. As depressing as it is, the reality is that I'm the only person she speaks to in this school. She wouldn't have the audacity to copy off someone within her class. If she's not ready to speak, then that's fine. The entire action itself going back on what I previously decided upon earlier. Forcing her to speak to me would probably send her into another state of shock, so I'll just let her go for now. Alright, Carrie. I turn around, leaving Carrie behind me as I join the students from her class heading towards the cafeteria. Whether Carrie wanted me to object or not, I'm unsure. However, she won't be able to get away from me this easily. Letting our friendship dissipate like this isn't something I want to allow. I find myself sitting in the cafeteria, clutching a sandwich in my hand. A little earlier, the guy sitting in front of me got into a fight with one of the younger students over who'd get the last beef sandwich. I'm not really sure why these things are so popular. Are you enjoying that sandwich? You better be. I was wounded pretty bad back there. I'll mix in the voices. Okay, well, whatever. He didn't even touch you. Can't you just pretend for a minute? School is pretty boring, man. To be honest, he's right. Having to sit here without Carrie is quite agonizing. A disgraceful experience, putting my entire state of mind into a flurry. Even though yesterday I sat alone in class, being here with this guy isn't much better at all. Are you listening, mate? Sorry, can you repeat yourself? I was saying that if they introduced lamb to school sandwiches, there's plenty of sheep in Wales, aren't there? I was saying, what if they introduced lamb to the school sandwiches? There's plenty of sheep in Wales, aren't there? I wouldn't know. I've never been. I'm not even Welsh. Neither am I, man. It's just a thought, you know. It seems this guy is pretty invested in sandwiches. The bell rings to signal the end of lunch, causing me to feel more depressed as I know I have to face afternoon lessons. Whilst listening to the mundane talk of my classmate, I decided to try again with Carrie. The idea is to walk her home. Pretty bold in itself, but I know for a fact she's not going to be compliant. I was liking this character. I'm getting weird vibes from this as I keep reading forward. Like, I was liking this guy a lot more, and then all of a sudden, like, he's saying, I'm gonna force her to talk, I'm gonna make her do this guy is boring me out of my mind, the school's blah blah blah. He's like, I don't know. Maybe she needs some space. Maybe she just needs some space, you know? Maybe don't force her to talk about it. Maybe give her a little bit of space and maybe she'll get better that way. Well, then again, I don't know. I guess it's complicated. Everything's complicated. Anyway, let's just continue. In a way, it might show her how much effort I'm putting into being there to support her. I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? A lot could go wrong if you're forcing someone to be there for you. The classroom is filled with a uniform aura of apathy as it slowly drags on towards the final few minutes. Thinking back on my idea from earlier, I need to find a way to be able to get out before Carrie. I can't be guaranteed that her class will let out late again, so I really don't want to miss her. Raising my hand, I eagerly wait for the teacher to notice. Asking me to be excused for the restroom is undoubtedly the best way to be the first one out of the class. There's about 5 minutes until lessons ends, so there shouldn't be a problem. Yes, Lobster? It's a miss. Excuse me, miss, may I please be excused for a restroom break? Go ahead, Lobster. It seems the teacher herself is quite apathetic towards her own lesson, sending me off in a tired and indifferent manner. I leave the classroom behind me, some classmates looking shocked after realizing my plan to get out of class before them. Turning down the corridor, I walk slowly towards Carrie's classroom. This time she's not getting away so easily. Gosh, the way that this guy says some of this stuff. This time she's not getting away so easily. The bell rings to officially end everyone's school day. I've been waiting here for a few minutes, so in order to use some time, I bought myself a drink. In order to use up some time, I bought myself a drink. As people begin to walk down the corridor, I toss my can in the bin and continue to wait for Carrie's class to come through the doors. Surprisingly, this time, Carrie is one of the first people to get out of her class. Perhaps she wanted to prevent a repetition of the events of lunch, getting out early so she could avoid me. Unfortunately for her, though, as soon as the chance arises, I grab her by the hand and make my way down the corridor with her at a quick pace. I'm sorry, I don't know about this guy. She's trying to avoid me. She feels sad and she doesn't want me to be there. But you know what? I'm going to grab her by the hand and I'm going to force her to go down the hall with me, even though it's very clear and obvious to me that she doesn't want to see me. Her trailing behind me with an extraordinary sense of embarrassment, ones which break new boundaries. I'm walking you home. Confused, Carrie continues to stumble over her words as I take her with me down the corridor. Despite her being able to let go of my hand, she shows no restraint as she allows herself to be taken with me. As we move, I notice a few stares and smiles from various people from our year group. Even sounds of light-hearted laughter can be heard. Different to how Carrie was treated before, I can only assume that they find the events funny in a friendly manner. Your house. I told you I'm walking you home, didn't I? Saying that, both of us are almost running as we pace towards the school's exit. Not a speed definable as walking, but I'm still taking her back to her house. Students move swiftly out of our way as we get outside and through the school gates onto the road, with the pair of us receiving the same odd looks and giggles as we finally break from the school ground. I let up my grip of Carrie's hand since the entire action still is embarrassing. More so the fact that running out of school had caused us both to sweat lightly. I can trust Carrie not to run off now, so we both slow down into a brisk walk as I take her on the journey back to her house. So, did you manage to catch up with your work? A flustered Carrie walks behind me as she tries her best to let out her words. The sight causes me to laugh, knowing that I've seen through her lie. Anyway, this sort of it's this sort of experience that I had longed for. I'm dragging a girl out of school against her will by forcibly holding her hand, and I caught her lying to me. Ah, what an experience! I totally longed for that. You're pretty cute. Saying that, Carrie ramps up her levels of befuddlement, causing me to lose myself in her adorable trance. I only told her the truth. Yeah, really. Her face is ablaze with emotion as she looks towards me with a harsh blush, fiddling with her hair as it entwines around her fingers. She meekly clasps her right arm as we continue walking down the road in a state of close to silence, neither of us deciding to continue conversation. The real fact is that Carrie still isn't feeling good inside. Trying to force her into a state of happiness would just make things worse. I'm fine with being able to come this far with her, walking down a street lit up by the afternoon sun. This is something I've always wanted to do with Carrie. Being there for her, being with her, it brings my feelings for her into question. Our steps are in sync as the two of us walk side by side down a street which is now quite familiar to me. Accompanying Carrie on the way home may seem like a brash thing to do. The idea itself established rather hastily. However, being here with her after spending yesterday in a state of worry gives me a sense of relief. The issues that caused this are still present, however. But showing Carrie that she doesn't have to go through it alone is enough of a reason for my actions. We find ourselves idling in front of her house, neither of us really wanting to start the traditional words of farewell. Carrie takes the lead, despite being rather reserved throughout the day. It's alright, Carrie. Carrie's still bearing the weight of uncertainty as she faces the chances of having to leave everything and everyone she's known behind to move away. And from what her father had told me, the distance between her and what she cherishes would be quite extraordinary. Remember, Carrie, you have people who are there for you. Even if it's the two people she's likely to be leaving behind. With Carrie saying that, the door to her house opens wide, despite neither of us reaching out for the handle. Standing before us is Carrie's father, sporting a smile which I can only describe as uneasy. Both of us know the situation Carrie is in, and both of us are trying our hardest to deal with it. I thought I heard someone speaking outside. Come on, love, sir, you're more than welcome to stay for dinner. Mr. Airwood wastes no time trying to get me inside of his house. All I can assume is that he has something he wants to discuss with me. I could do more than guess what it is he wants to talk about. The startled response coming straight from her. Carrie, still somehow shocked at her father's invitation, idles behind me as I step forward into her house. Are you coming inside, Carrie? It's strange the man has to ask his own daughter if she's going to enter their own house. But it's not something I would expect happening with Carrie. It's not something I wouldn't expect happening with Carrie. Her actions are quite adorable. Dispelling that train of thought, I divert my attention back to reality, knowing that there's still a large uncertainty that hangs over us. As Mr. Airwood and I walk further through the hall, Carrie stands behind and speaks out to us. Rushing off quickly up the stairs, Carrie leaves her father and I alone in the hallway. Well, the two of us can still go through the dining room. You want a beer? I know you're below the Japanese drinking age, but the laws are different in my house. Yeah, sure, why not? Willingly accepting his offer, the two of us walk into the dining room, both of us knowing what's on the other's mind. Sitting down, the both of us are reluctant to start the conversation. Carrie could come down at any minute. It would be pretty hard for her hearing us talk about her behind her back. It wouldn't be pretty for her to hear us talking about her behind her back. Still, the thought is something I'll have to neglect. Avoiding this conversation isn't what I want to do. So, has she been any better? Still pretty upset. His voice has a certain firmness that seems unfitting for the discussion, as if the fact that Carrie's in emotional distress doesn't concern him. I think she likes you, you know. The thought of having to leave you doesn't sit well with her. What? What? Repeating my thoughts aloud, I stare blankly at Mr. Airwood, who sits in front of me with a smile. Did he just suggest that Carrie likes me? In what way is he suggesting? I mean, she's upset. She's upset that she has to leave you. No. The part before that. That? Oh, I'm just suggesting that Carrie has a crush on you. You know, there's times in a girl's life where they find someone they like. That's the way it is for everyone. Is this guy really telling me that his daughter fancies me? Hearing it is quite a shock, especially from him, her own father. Thoughts rush through my head as I think over my relationship with Carrie. Carrie's actions towards me have never been quite confident. She's always seemed embarrassed or shy, but that's just how I thought she normally was. To think that she likes me, that's a strange thought, yet inside I can't deny the feeling of happiness. The feeling of wanting to be with her. You're a good kid. I always thought the good kids deserve good news. Diverting my attention back to Mr. Airwood, he continues talking with a smile on his face. I've had some talks with my solicitor. Legal stuff, right? He told me that I'm willing to win custody of Carrie. My wife isn't known to have the best mental health record. So don't feel too down, kid. Carrie's going to stay? A wave of relief washes over me, knowing that Carrie doesn't have to face her burdens. It's a pleasant thought. Even more so that I know how Carrie feels about me. I can't even describe what either of us would be feeling if we were separated. Have you told her yet? Not yet. I wanted to wait until the time was right. What does he mean? I think that telling her would be one of the first things you'd do. For days, Carrie's been awash with agony, finding herself disillusioned in reality as she faces having her life torn apart by an uncontrollable force. I mean, it's odd. Can I ask you for a favor? What? Take my daughter out on a date. What? It seems as if what is the only thing I can get out around this guy, to be so full of surprises. What's even more surprising is that Carrie's still taking her time with putting her stuff away. Me and her father have been talking about her for quite a while. Her father has just asked me to go on a date with her, yet she's conveniently upstairs, completely unaware of what's going on. Why are you so adamant about me and Carrie? I reveal my thoughts to him. In no way do I not want to go out with Carrie. It's just strange that her father is pushing us together. First he tells me that she likes me, and now he's trying to get me to take her out. Aren't fathers supposed to be reluctant to let a guy date their daughter? Especially when they've only known each other for less than 2 weeks. It's just Kitty's never had many friends. To know that she's managed to make one which she even likes, I don't want her to miss the opportunity. And hey, you're not a bad kid. I have no objections to you dating her. Hearing these words, they're strange. Thoughts which were never foreign, but a reality which certainly is new to me. I myself can't deny the feelings that I've had for Carrie, even if they were abstract for most of the time. Now presented with this, I'm assured of what those feelings were. Love. The sound of footsteps resonate from the hallway, giving me and Mr. Airwood a clean sign to change the direction of our conversation. So, Lobster, how was school? Oh, it's been great. Okay, let me save that here. Okay, yes, I've been recording, I think I've been recording for probably an hour and a half so far. Probably more than an hour and a half. So I think that I will leave it at that for this stream at least. And I want to say, and then, ooh, cliffhanger, you gotta come back and find out next time. But I hope that you guys have a great night. If I might record another video tonight. Maybe I was thinking of doing an ASMR at some point, so maybe today might be a good day to get on that. But we'll find out and see. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this visual novel. I have been working on trying to read it more clearly, and I have been trying to work on my acting skills to make it more enjoyable for you. So hopefully the change has been noticeable. And then I'll continue to work on that as time goes on. Well, until next time, I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Enjoy your lives, spread the love, and you'll see me next time. Bye.